Hey, fellow ishies. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you being here. So, in case you haven't noticed, my thumbnails, I've been really struggling with those, and I think some of it is my videos are too short. So today I'm going to do a little bit longer one. I actually went on a vacation, and so I've got a few things I want to talk about. I'm just talking to people. I just learned things, and so I thought I would bring them to you since it's kind of what we talk about here. So if you've ever been over here, never been over here, if you know, you know, there's a great little German town called Frankenmuth. And so it's one of my favorite places to go. They do have some German style food. It's a little bit touristy now, can be a little bit pricey depending on what you like to do, but there's always something there. I did a bit of shopping, a bit of shopping, you know, can't pass up a used bookstore. Like, I need more books, if you can see behind me. And I came across this little sign, and I said, well, I guess that means I have to buy it. It was meant to be. Although I am a little bit disappointed, some people have been using ish as a substitute for a swear word. You can't take over my ish, but what can you do, right? So this town has some pretty interesting things. They also have their own wool mill. And so I bought a dryer ball because that was what I could afford. Obviously they have a used bookstore. They've got little knick-knacky stuff. You know, the t-shirt touristy stuff. They have like a place for beignets and tea and, you know, homemade ice cream, homemade sausage. And if you've never had blueberry or chocolate cheese, it is a must. Something also that they have that is very unique is a kilt store. Yes, as in Scottish Highlands kilts. And they are homemade. They're woven, they're wool. So they have like the original wool kilts. And I went in there to see if they had like the plaid or the color of a family line that I'm researching. And they didn't, luckily. And I was talking to the guy, and he was explaining about how the kilts are woven and how it takes 9 yards to make a kilt. And I'm just like, doesn't look like that much material. 9 yards is a lot of fabric. Although the Hawaiian pa'us take, I don't know, 6 or 8 yards to make. So I guess it kind of makes sense. And, you know, he said if you can't do the wool, they have other options, other materials. And so he was talking about a little bit of the history. He said that the cloth sellers back in the day just started selling the cloth in 9-yard sections because that's what it takes to make a kilt. And so that's where the phrase, the whole 9 yards, came from. People would come in and just give me the whole 9 yards. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I wonder if that's true. So I came home and looked at a couple of things, and I found something, and I was just like, what? So this source says that it was from a 50 caliber machine gun that was used during World War II. They had a 27-foot ammunition belt. And so the longer the ammunition belt, the less that you had to reload, which makes sense. And it was common practice to say that a gunner gave them the whole 9 yards once the belt was extinguished. That said, the World War II history cannot have actually inspired the whole 9 yards, as the phrase was used in 1907, in print in 1907. So the original inspiration remains the biggest everyday expression related mysteries. Actually, it isn't. Apparently, the author has never been to a kilt store. So I was also reading in a book, yes, these things are all jumbled together. It is by Chase Hughes, so I give him credit. And he was talking about, I hope YouTube doesn't penalize me for using these words, because like pesticide, homicide, and some other words that end in cide. Decide also ends in cide. And I heard one today called pharmacide, P-H-A-R-M-A, side. So the C-I-D-E ending particularly caught my attention because we use the word decide all the time. never think about the meaning. So, but it ends in the same letters as all these other words that we think of as bad. So he says the suffix of decide is cide, which means to kill or cut off in Latin. The prefix de means off. So when we are encouraging people to make decisions, or when we have to make decisions, we are cutting off the option to do anything else. Kind of gives a little bit more intensity to the word decide, I think. Okay, so when we decide or others decide, it's helping others to cut off all the other choices. Interesting thing that happened was I was talking to some people that about some things that were going on, and I was like, I was hoodwinked, and they had no idea what hoodwinked was. So let me know in the comments if you've ever heard the word hoodwinked. I mean, up until recently, if you listen to some of the podcasters I listen to, hoodwinked is probably pretty commonly used, or gaslit. It's kind of the same thing. But they knew what bamboozled was, but they'd never heard of hoodwinked. So I was just like, well, where does that come from? I'm thinking like hoodlum, maybe related to hoodlum or stuff like that, but it apparently is not. Hoodwinked actually comes from the late 1500s, and it comes from combining two ideas, a hood, covering for a head, and wink, which actually back then meant close your eyes. So to hoodwink someone originally meant to cover their head or their eyes so they couldn't see, like a blindfold. So it was a physical covering of their eyes. I think of when they would do the public hangings, that would be considered hoodwinked, right? Because they would be basically blinded with a hood. So by the 1600s, it actually went from physically blinding someone to mentally blinding them. Just some interesting thoughts while I was on vacation, a little bit scattered, lots of, I think, interesting things. And since I bought more books to read, who knows what I'll come across later. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of why we say what we say, why it drives some people crazy, and why sometimes it actually makes sense.